Right, also we need context. If we're looking at self-protection, we need to have a context what the threat is and who's likely to be victim to what type of threat. So first thing is there are two main types of violence that we're likely to come across outside the home. Social violence and asocial violence. Now, social violence, they call it social because it's somebody that wants an audience. He wants to show off in front of his mates. That's basically your barroom bully, your playground bully, the guy who wants to show everybody else what a tough guy he is. He's the alpha male. Okay, so it's social because he wants people to see. Now, normally with social violence, there's a build up to it. Someone starts like, who are you looking at? Or you're looking at my girlfriend, that type of stuff. And there's generally scripts that people follow, like, who you're looking at? Oh, I wasn't looking at anyone. Yes, you was, you're looking at me. You're saying I'm lying? So little scripts that people follow. And the script is designed to kind of, well, first of all, to test your resolve. Some people call it an interview. It's to test your resolve to see if you're really likely to put up a good fight or not. And also to tie you in to getting involved in a fight by challenging you. So they tend to be rather predictable. So the main thing is, if you take your ego out of it, then very often you can get out of these situations without having to get involved in a fight. Someone says, who are you looking at? Oh, sorry mate, I thought I recognised you, my mistake, I apologise. Take your ego out of it. It doesn't matter if he's being a jerk, you don't have to be one as well. Okay, just take the ego out of it, apologise, move on. Okay? It's mainly amongst young men, teens and 20s. It's on the increase amongst young women as well, but it is mainly young men who fall foul of social violence. Even if it's quite a big tough guy, some other big tough guy may want to make a name for himself and have a go. So mainly amongst young men. Middle-aged men and middle-aged people generally don't come across social violence. It does happen, but it's a much lower percentage. Okay? The next type of violence is asocial violence. And they call it asocial because there's not the social aspect. They don't want an audience. They don't want people to see. This is more likely your mugger, your rapist, your serial killer. Okay? They don't want people to see because what they're doing is quite a serious crime. They know they can end up in jail, so they don't want any audiences to it. They are more likely to carry a weapon. Okay, I mean social violence can carry a weapon as well, but I say generally the asocial violence are more likely to carry a weapon to threaten you and coerce you into doing whatever they want you to do. Okay, and they also have a greater element of surprise. I mean, when you go back to social violence, where there's a big build-up to it, that is the place where your martial arts will work best. You have time to prepare yourself, you have time to gauge the distance, you have time to get into your guard, whatever it is you do. Social violence, asocial violence, you might be minding your own business, and then you might be at a cash machine, and then suddenly you've got a knife to your back. Now, there's not much you can do about that, it's too late. Okay? Or you might be kind of putting the shopping in the back of the car and somebody sneaks up behind you, hits you over the back of the head with a kosh. Again, too late to do anything about it. Sometimes the asocial violence, the attack it'll just be a straight out attack. Sometimes it'll be a threat with a weapon to coerce you. Now, your main protection really is just simply awareness. Okay, be aware of your surroundings. Okay, if you're on a mobile and you don't know what's happening around you. I saw an interview with in London at the moment. There's a lot of moped crime recently, where somebody on a moped will speed up, snatch a bag or snatch a mobile phone and ride off, and that's it, they're gone, and there's not much anyone can do about it. Now, a reporter did an interview with one of these guys. The guy kept the helmet on and everything, kept his identity secret, but they did an interview, and the moped thief was saying, look at that. That girl over there is crossing the road, she's texting away, she's not looking at what she's doing. I could be up there, I could snatch that phone off her and she wouldn't have a clue what had happened. And the reporter said, but everything looks so natural, it's such a normal, natural scene. And the moped thief said, no, it's not natural. She's crossing the road and she's not looking where she's going. Now, you think about that for a minute. Regardless of crime, regardless of criminals trying to snatch your stuff, you're crossing the road and you're not looking for traffic. Okay, that is seriously stupid. That is somebody who's seriously distracted. So you've got to be aware of your surroundings. If you wanted to send a text message, just put your back to the wall. Okay, so you could have a look around, text around, every now and again, look up, look around, have your back to the wall so no one can kind of come up behind you. It's just a simple precautions like that can make a big difference. They also did a study with criminals in a prison who had already been convicted and captured, and they showed them a film of a busy shopping mall, and they asked them, who would you select as your targets? Now, certain things come into play when it comes to selecting the targets. Obviously, you don't want a big, powerful man who's likely to fight back and give you a run for your money. Someone who's physically weak, or more likely a woman, less likely to fight back. That's part of what comes into play. But a large part that come into play with these criminals selecting who their targets would be was just simply lack of awareness by the person walking along. Okay, someone who's distracted, they've got their head down, they're worrying about the job, they're worrying about their wife giving them a hard time when they come home, they're texting, whatever. They're not concentrating on their surroundings. Okay, just simply having your head up, just kind of being aware, looking around, having an air of confidence about you reduces your chances of being selected. Nothing is ever 100%. There's nothing that you can say like, oh, you do this and you will never be selected for asocial violence. There's nothing that can be 100% guaranteed. It's all about reducing the chances. Okay? So awareness is one of your main weapons for not being selected by a social predator. Now, again, when it comes to asocial predators, there are two main types again: a resource predator and a process predator. Now, the resource predator, as it says, he's someone who's looking for resources. Okay, he wants your money, he wants your handbag, he wants your mobile phone, he wants something that he can take and get something for, get money for. Okay, now this could be someone who's broke, who's having trouble feeding their family. It could be a drug dealer. Okay, but one thing to be aware of with this type of people is, after a while, the first time they mug somebody is the hardest time. Second time is a little bit easier. Third time, easier still. By the time they've done it about a dozen times, well, hell, you deserved it, you had it coming. You're one of these rich buggers keeping them in their place, keeping them down poor and keeping them broke. And people are very good at dehumanizing others, and they're very good at making excuses for their own actions. And if they perceive you as rich, and they perceive themselves as being poor and struggling, and it's your fault for keeping them there, hell, you deserved it, you had it coming. And people can do that. Okay, it seems a little bit ludicrous that somebody will mug you and blame you for it, but people can persuade themselves to that mindset when they are desperate enough to need it. Okay, now if we're looking at, so we say, somebody who's got a drug problem, or particularly someone with a drug problem, they need a lot of money on a regular basis. Okay, even if it's somebody who's broke and destitute, so maybe got some kids to feed, again, they're desperate people. So after a while, they will convince themselves that you deserved it. You know, they've got to make excuses for their behaviour, and they will do that. So again, the main thing is just awareness. Keep your eyes open, look around. Don't let people sneak up on you. Generally, when it comes to resource predators, they don't want to kill you. They may threaten you with a weapon, but they don't want to kill you. The main reason being is that they want, like animal predators, they want to be able to hunt again and again and again. When lions hunt, they always pick the weak, the lame, the very old, the very young. They don't kind of look at a herd of buffalo and say, oh, we'll have him. That one with the great big horns, yeah, he's got a lot of meat on him, he looks tasty, we'll take him out. We'll show him who's king of the jungle. They're not interested in that, because if they take out the biggest, tastiest, meatiest bull in the pack, there's a good chance they might get seriously injured. And if they get seriously injured, they can't hunt the next week or maybe for a couple of months. So they want to take out animals that they can take out easily without them having been stopped from hunting for any reason. And the human predator is the same. They don't want to have to be stopped from hunting. So if the resource predator demands your wallet or whatever, if a resource predator should actually kill somebody, you know, he demands your wallet, you give him your wallet and he kind of kills you or cuts you anyway, there's going to be a much, much bigger police hunt for a murderer than there is for a mugger. And the mugger knows that. So if he can be a mugger without actually killing anybody, he's got a higher chance of carrying on his hunting. Like the lion, he can carry on hunting next week and the week after and the week after. So he doesn't actually want to kill if he can get away with it. Having said that, they are good at dehumanizing, as I said, so they don't care. Many of them will not care if they hurt you. And the other thing is, they want to be taken seriously. Because if word gets around, oh, there's a mugger out there, black hoodie, whatever, if he demands your goods, tell him to bugger off, and he'll bugger off. Then again, that's their reputation gone as a mugger, and no one takes them seriously, they're not going to get any money. So again, if you refuse them, they're likely to hurt you. If they've got a knife, they're likely to cut you. So don't be silly, okay? If they're after your goods, give them your goods. It's not worth risking your life over. It's really not. However good you are as a martial artist, if they've got a weapon, they've got a huge advantage, especially if they've got a gun. Okay? I mean, I live in the United Kingdom. Guns aren't very common. Knife crime is getting a lot worse in the UK at the moment. In America, there's a lot of guns. It really is not worth risking your life over the contents of your wallet or the contents of your handbag. That can all be replaced. Okay? If you are in an area of high crime, then a couple of things you can do. Take a second wallet with you. Okay? With very little cash in it or no cash at all, so you can hand over the wallet, oh, here it is, and so you're not really giving away very much. Another little trick is simply fake compliance. Yes, okay, I'm getting it. Take it out and just throw it a couple of yards away, okay? Don't lob it over the tree where the guy can't get it. The main thing he wants is the wallet, not you, okay? So if I just throw it a couple of yards over in that direction, by the time he's gone over there to pick it up, I can be several yards in that direction, and I've got a bit of distance between us. So it's just a simple trick to create distance, okay? He still gets what he wants, because he's after resources. I've got the distance between us, so I'm getting back to safety. So don't risk your life over it. It's really not worth it, okay? Now, again, we're looking at older people here, generally, okay? Because if you look at if someone's kind of looking to mug someone, the chances are that a middle-aged people might be carrying more money than somebody in their teens. No, it's not hard and fast. Okay, there's no hard and fast with this, but generally a middle-aged person or an older person, less likely to have less resistance and likely to have more money. So they are more likely to be prone to a resource predator. Okay? Now, a little phrase to remember here when it comes to both social violence and a resource predator is violence comes with instructions of how to get out of it. So if someone tells you, shut that up or I'm going to kick your head in, what do? You shut that up. Okay, it's that simple. Just do as you're told. Keep quiet. If someone's pulls a knife on you and says, give me your wallet or I'll cut you up, fine, give me your wallet. Then chances are you won't be cut up. Nothing's ever 100%, nothing's ever guaranteed, but you reduce the odds by just doing as you're told. Violence comes with instructions on how to get out of it. So do as you're told, okay? Okay, unless we come to the process predator. Now the process predator, they're the real nasties. They're the rapists, they're the serial killers. They're the real nasties. They're the ones processed because they want to take you through a process of hurting you, a process of pain. Now, if they kind of ask for your wallet and your possessions, fine, give it to them. If they then get out some duct tape and say, tape your feet together, now you know that things are being moved to a different level. And this is when you do have to kind of up your game, okay? Another thing may be kind of get in the car, okay? They maybe pull a knife on you or a gun on you, get in the car, especially for women. Now, again, awareness is your main weapon not to get into this situation in the first place. Always be aware of your surroundings, okay? When it comes to particularly a woman, if someone said demands, get into the car, that is something you never want to do under any circumstances. Even if the guy's got a weapon, okay, feign compliance. You feign compliance, yes, okay, I'll do what you're told, I'll do what you tell me, line them up, hit them as hard as you can, and then run away, okay? If you don't think you can do that, if you don't think you can pull that off, then just scream and shout your head off. And I'll tell you why. If somebody's trying to take you to a secondary location, the reason is that the location they're in is a weak location for them. Because again, the serial killer, the rapist, they want to be able to hunt again next week, next month. And this location is a weakness for them. It's somewhere where they might get spotted, they might get identified, their car might get identified. So they want to take you to a secondary location where there will be no identification, there will be no witnesses. So where you are now, there is a potential of witnesses and there's a potential of identification. So if you scream and shout, there's a possibility you might get cut or even shot. But there's also a chance you'll get medical attention. Okay, that is a big important thing there. You'll get medical attention. Okay, if somebody knows that you're in trouble, or if somebody comes to see what's happening. If you get in the car, you will not get any medical attention. You get a lot of attention from the predator, but you will get no medical attention, and you are likely to wind up dead or raped, okay, or possibly both. Okay, there will be no medical attention. So if you freeze and you're not sure that you can actually hit, or not sure that you can hit hard enough to hurt the person, particularly if you're a lady, scream and shout as loud as you can, okay? But make it specific. Help, help, okay? Because if you're just screaming, people might think it's a domestic. Now, when it's a domestic, people are very often a little bit not sure about getting involved, even if a guy's beating around a woman, because very often in a domestic, somebody gets involved to try and help out, and very often the couple will close ranks and side with each other against the third party who has tried to help. So if you just scream, and somebody thinks, oh, it's a domestic, they don't want to get involved because the two of you may turn against them. But if you are specifically shouting, help, help me, then everyone knows that you do want other people to get involved. You do want other people to come, okay? Now, as soon as, if the person's trying to get you into a third car, it's because there's likely to be witnesses where they are. So hopefully somebody should be on the scene very, very quickly. If the person does cut you, okay, he's not likely to want you in his car afterwards, because if you're bleeding all over his car, that's a hell of a lot of forensic evidence for the police. And again, they want to carry on hunting next week, next month, whatever. So they don't want that kind of forensic evidence in their car. Okay, even if you come round, somebody comes around the corner, car's driving off, maybe get the number plates, maybe just get the make and model of the car. It's all increased risk to them. And the main way with a process predator, well, first of all, awareness. Secondly, increase the risk to them. And the main risk to them is them being caught. Okay, the main risk is not necessarily you fighting back and hurting them. Their main risk, as far as they're concerned, is being caught. Okay, so the more you can get attention, the more you can get people to come to you, okay, you're likely to get the medical help you know, if you do get cuts or shots, then, you know, they're more got more chance of being identified and being tracked down by the police. So that's the main things you can do there. Okay, now anybody can potentially be a victim of a process predator. I would say women are more likely, because obviously women are not as strong as men, less likely to be able to fight back, and of course there is the sexual element there as well, the sexual predator, rape, whatever. So that kind of sums up the different types of violence, the different level of threat, and the different things that you have to do about it. And I have to say, when it comes to social violence, very often, when it comes to asocial violence, very often your martial arts won't work, depending on what the situation is. If you've been caught by surprise, okay, if you've been kind of confronted with somebody with a weapon and you're unarmed, very often your martial arts will not work in those situations. They can't. If you've been hit on the back of the head by surprise, not going to work. And so these things have to be taken into account when you're looking at your self-defense needs. Okay. Now, the other thing, when it comes to awareness, there's little things you can kind of make a practice of to help you increase your awareness. One of them is just use reflective surfaces. Okay. I've got a friend who's a prison officer, and there's high levels of violence in the prison. They make there's a lot of metal and chrome and whatever in the around the prison. They make a practice. If they're coming up to corner, if there's any reflective, if they come around the corner that way, if there's a reflective surface over there, they'll check that to see if anyone's around the corner waiting for them, so they can't be ambushed. It's just a little practice that comes into play on a regular basis. One thing I use sometimes is, if you're walking home at night time, you walk past a street light. As you walk along, you get a long shadow in front of you. Be aware, if there's another shadow suddenly comes up near you, watch for the shadows. Okay, use shop windows. Okay, shop windows are normally reflective, depending on what the lighting is. So use them to check behind you, or even just simply look around behind you every now and again. Okay, don't be absorbed in your phone. Just look behind you, look around. Carry yourself with an air of confidence. Because another thing, especially for women, okay, when you go back to rape and sexual assault. Now, I mentioned earlier on, the prisoners were shown a videotape of people in a busy shopping mall, and who would they select as a victim? These people are experts at picking out victims who are not likely to fight back. Now, very often if a woman has been sexually abused or raped, or maybe abused as a child, or even attacked as an adult, very often women will dress down to try and make themselves look less attractive. The idea being, oh, if I'm less attractive, then the chances are I won't be picked on, I won't be selected again. So dress down, sometimes overeat, put on weight to make themselves look less attractive, less attention to personal grooming, okay, and they think by making themselves less attractive they're less likely to be selected by a sexual predator or a rapist. Now, that's false, because an experienced sexual predator will recognise those traits in a woman and recognise the vulnerability, and that will make her, ironically, will make her a bigger target, because he knows she's in a victim mentality and he knows she's less likely to fight back. A woman that takes good pride in her appearance, okay, she does her makeup, she wears nice clothes, she makes herself attractive, she walks with upright, with her head up and an air of confidence, chances are she's more likely to fight back. She's more likely to shout, more likely to scream, more likely to scratch. And again, if you look at the animal who wants to hunt the next day, if a woman fights back and scratches a man's face, there's identifying marks for the police to look for, okay? Can you identify the man? Well, you've now got 3 scratch marks down the side of his face where I scratched him. So, again, the predator knows that. The predator knows that if they get bruised, if they get scratched, if they get any physical marks on them as a result of the altercation, then they're more likely to be identified by the police. So, again, that is taken into account in who they select for a victim. Okay, so all these things are worth bearing in mind. There's never anything that is 100% guarantee, but it's all about lowering the odds. Okay, and this is very important if you're serious about self-protection.